one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best? There is no second best.
Welcome in to Discover Crypto in the Blockchain Basement and BitLab combination show. We got Mr. Man, my man, right here, Kelly Kellum. Oh, wait a minute, Kelly, what happened to you? How are you doing? Market's getting a little bit spicy this morning. How you holding up?
Well, it's so sad to see what's going on in this market when you got just major dump. Look at this, $700 billion, $700 billion breaking to the downside, $11 billion in open interest in crypto getting washed out. So, I'm actually excited about this. As frustrating as it may seem, we have some bearishness, right? We have some things that we got to look at.
Yeah.
And I have been, we've been talking about this. I actually shared this. Just want to highlight this real quick. I shared this several days ago, right here as a likely move down to this region and then likely to that next region. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Now it's down in this range. So, we got a lot to get into today.
Yep, we got some reasons for the pullback too. Trump trade war 2.0. This really kicked off on a very interesting day that we have to take a look at on the charts. But also there's a lot of things that have happened in the background in terms of Bitcoin being set up and stable coins being set up with this golden carpet. Now the question is, are altcoins coming with them? Bitcoin dominance graph does not look great, and some alts are in some extreme pain. So we're going to work through this and make sure to follow on the channel. Of course, you got to follow Mr. Kelly Kellum. Okay, Kelly Kellum all over the internet, all over the Twitter, right there at Kelly Kellum. But then you can follow Drew here at Druth Crypto, and also make sure that you're subscribed to the network of channels Discover Crypto. And me and Kelly work tirelessly. He runs BitLab Academy, Blockchain Basement for yours truly, and then DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, Veteran Crypto in the background, working hard for the folks. Now, let's get into it. Let's get into the news. The bad stuff. This is the ugly. So Trump came out on True Social earlier this morning. Some very strange things are happening in China. They are becoming very hostile and sending letters to countries throughout the world that they want to impose export controls on each and every element of production having to do with rare earths and virtually anything else that we can think of, even if not manufactured here in China. Now, how in the world could they possibly do this? How could they put constrictions on rare earths that are pulled out of countries externally to China? Well, as DZ wonderfully highlighted, the refineries of these rare earths, these minerals, a large majority of those are in China, but also there's locations that have taken predatory loans across the world from China and actually have some financial chains binding them to the Chinese intent. Trump coming out, morning crash out. Oh boy, Kelly, it felt great. Bitcoin crashed pretty hard on the news. China being painted as a rare minerals tyrant by Trump in this post here. It was very odd, Kelly. There was someone that actually predicted this. Personality.soul, Chinese cabal friend, told him a big dip was coming this Friday afternoon or Saturday. This was posted 2 days ago. Somehow this person called it out. Kelly, we've had continuous trade battles kicking off, and the market was getting lesser and lesser of a reaction. I want your opinion and kind of your chart perspective on this, because where I went to was what happened the last time we saw a major escalation with Trump and Xi Jinping in terms of trade. It was January 20th, right? We had a local top here at $109,200. Well, just a few weeks prior to that, we had accomplished this high of 107,900. Then we peaked our head just over it. Then had the trade war crash out from Trump. Liberation Day followed, and we fell all the way down to $73,000 or over 30%, right at around 31.6%. Now we fast forward to this current situation, Kelly, and if I'm backed up and I'm looking at the forest through the trees here, seeing some similarities, right? A little bit of hires. And right now, you know, something like, I mean, what is your over under of this playing out over the next few weeks? Because I felt like the hopium in me was noticing the lesser moves in terms of downward moves of trade crash outs from Trump. But this is a China Trump trade crash out, right? So,
Well, I did some very in-depth TA research to this, and on that, I took a measuring tape, and that's only about a 6-inch dip when I measure that. So I'm hoping that's enough. But when we're getting into the charts and actually looking at what's going on, again, I want to just highlight we had this mapped out. Showed you the tweets that I've been sharing on the live streams and in the Discord, and also here, on Twitter. And this is currently just testing that region. So when we go backwards, the one thing I do want to say is, yes, we can look to the previous trade war, which is this massive. I mean, it's a pretty big sell-off. It was so scary. And then you look, oh my God, it just tested a previous range high. I mean, that's all, it's really all that did. So if something similar were to happen, what would happen here? Potentially coming down into this zone here. Let's see what that looks like. What sort of pullback would that represent? Let's get to that chart. There we go. I need a little bit more space. There we go. Okay. So looking at this right there, that would come down to this line. So the top there, about 125.7 to 125.6, that would represent only a 13% pullback. Okay. That's not that bad. Now, if we get below this, I think this is where you get a bit more of a washout that really shocks people, but ultimately it's still bullish in terms of the structure of the chart. Getting down below this level, you start getting this very battle of what is the narrative, because if the price action does come down to here and lose that, you're starting to form a bit lower lows on these sort of midterm macro ranges. But I do think that the market is still getting far too frothy. The funding rates are still positive, meaning the majority are still betting long. So the market is still too expectant on upside. As much as I am bullish on where this cycle goes, it wouldn't shock me if we had a washout down to 109, potentially test that $100,000 range. But I just don't see it happening. I don't see this trade snafu in the narrative right now being the same like we just saw, because currently what we're seeing is a rare earth minerals, which is going to be massive impact for tech production and chips and all these sorts of things. But I think this is more of a poking a little bit more of a bearish narrative to shake the markets out a bit. And I think this is going to resolve before we know it.
But
I'm hyper bullish. So
another thing though that I see is this start of trade wars and this, basic tug of war with China. Preceding movements of countries before kinetic warfare is always trade war. It's a game of resources, right, Kelly? And China's coming out. They're not too pleased about what's going on. China Commerce Ministry hoping that the U.S. corrects what they call wrong practice. So things are, happening on a BRICS versus US level. And we look at some of these things and we say, oh my gosh, that's bullish for crypto, because crypto creates routes around what we know as the US dollar, the world reserve currency. It was this story, the Russia setting up to allow their banks to conduct crypto related activities under strict regulation. It's very, very similar to honestly what I see happening in some of the more bullish news things that we look at here in America, like this, the global banks, but a lot of them here in America, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, collaborating on plans to launch a joint stablecoin initiative. So NATO and BRICS are both building out their own ecosystems of basic value transfer kind of in parallel to each other. And this also leans towards war. This leans towards the narrative that this is actually not a short-term, tit for tat, 100% tariff, blah, blah, blah. This is China feeling like it's sat at the second seat of the table for long enough and it's ready to stand up and try to usurp the United States. That's what this NATO movement versus BRICS movements on a financial scale and on the battlefield all lean towards escalation. But within that escalation,
there's something important there too, because we've been talking about gold a lot lately and how it's supposed to front run Bitcoin, or it has historically. But if you just type in gold signal, what does it mean in the markets, and you see this right here. While rising golds is not a direct sign of impending war, they do signal heightened geopolitical tensions and uncertainty. And I think that this is kind of heightened geopolitical tensions and uncertainty should be the sort of earmark for, chapter mark of where we're at for the last about 3 to 5 years, but it's especially looking forward because not only the political divisions that are getting just overwhelmingly exponentially divided from the propagandized war that are in algorithms, but also everybody's waking up to money printing and the fact that, do we even have that gold in Fort Knox? The fact that, I don't know, it feels like a very promising time for investors that also becomes highly volatile. So you got to strap in and hang on to your butt because this market is going to shake about.
Oh, it's been easy to win in this market, right? I mean, come on now. Who are we kidding? Let's check this out. This is one of the best posts I saw last night. All you had to do was long memes, then you long AI, then long RWAs, then memes again, though, then utility, and then dog coins, then cat coins, then hippo coins, and then the 2021 layer 1 run, then ETH betas, then the dinosaur coins out of nowhere pumping, metaverse coins with literally no users going nuts, then farm hype, and hopefully you were awake when Trump launched so you could full port and then sell everything the following day to avoid the Melania rug, the Libra rug, and every subsequent celebrity grift. Then long pump at the ICO breakout, sell the Pico top, rotate it back into AVNT, Aster to catch the Perpdex meta, but then buy XPL and sell everything as soon as the chart starts looking good. Then use those profits to go into the Binance BSC meta. That literally lasted 2 days, and all a while longing Bitcoin to sell at each all-time high because price will nuke as soon as it gets to a whiff of price discovery. And better not hold anything for longer than 48 hours because you'll round trip the farm, and every time the market sneezes, your alts will jump off a cliff. And if you miss time any of these rotations, even by a few hours, then you will lose all your money. Guys, it's simple, okay? It's really simple. This is why navigating this market, it's like this.
This is what it feels like. But you know what? That's important. It's really important to consider right now. September was supposed to be the worst month that we were supposed to have. September into green. Yeah. October is supposed to be October, and it was started green, trap people in that sentiment. That's almost like a bullish sentiment trap. And now we're seeing a little bit of trouble. So it feels like, and I've been talking about this on all the streams I've been doing the last 7 months between BitLab Academy in the Discord, but then also here on the Discover Crypto streams, that even the patterns that signal bullish move will break down first and then move to the upside, trapping people in both directions. Chart patterns that signal that bearish price action is going to happen, it rips to the upside and captures people in this. Oh, this is actually going to go bullish, and then it breaks down. The positive sentiment we're expecting in October, when you're looking at this right here, is October in the room with us right now. I think it's more of this is a cycle of broken expectations, of broken playbooks, of broken. I know the roadmap this time, so I'm gonna make it, and then you're like, what the hell is this roadmap? You just wrote it out. It's anything goes, alternate reality. Hey man, you better believe in what you're holding or get in and get out quickly.
Yeah. Well, it could be worse. I will say it could be worse. Look at this story, Kelly. A guy got hacked for $1 million in his hot wallet. Absolutely crazy. It's gone. Not going to get it back. This was his entire stash. Feel bad, but come on. Get multiple hardware wallets, transfer your crypto, hide everything. This is a reminder. And yeah, Tangum's one, but we are wonderfully sponsored by Arculus cold storage device. And honestly, the difference between Arculus and Tangum and the difference between Arculus and Ledger is that this is a cold wallet that's actually easy for my family, people around me that see what I'm doing with crypto. They want to learn how to use this cold custody. It's very, very easy. This is why I like Arculus. It's just a great way to empower people to hold their own crypto, be able to easily diversify all of those things. So if you don't have one already, click the link in our description, use code DC20. Now, Kelly, we're talking a lot about macroeconomics, pressures on Bitcoin, what Bitcoin's performed like during similar macroeconomic pressures, right? But also, there's an underlying narrative and another bull market boiling up beneath our feet in the form of data becoming the new oil in data centers. Check this out, Kelly. I'm going to put this up. So, data centers, the energy consumption reached a 5% level of total US power demand now. By 2030, data center energy consumption will exceed 10%, set up to double over the next 5 years, a total of 10% of US power demand. AI revolution playing into this, obviously, and this is the expansion of companies rolling ChatGPT models into their customer service, all of those things that are happening currently. You'll call in, you'll get an AI conversation more than likely at your next, kind of large retailer. AI compute demand is now growing 2 times the rate of Moore's law, creating a massive shortage. Just to meet current demand, $500 billion has to be invested. This is a minimum, has to be invested into data centers, new literal data centers, not just the power generation to get behind them and power this massive
you
grid.
know what's important here too, though, is this could have direct impact on individual citizens' energy cost, right? And I foresee, because it's kind of like data is the new oil, there's going to go one of two ways. One way is there's such utility in what we're doing with AI, compute, and all these things, and Bitcoin mining, and all, I mean, there's so many different aspects of that's going to be driving and dragging on the energy usage. That's also hyper profitable for those that are using all those things that are going to be dragging and utilizing a lot of the energy. So on the one hand, maybe energy becomes fully subsidized for the end user and we don't have to pay for energy anymore because it's such a major profit center. But then again, I look at every government in the history of anywhere, I don't see that's not communist that is going to fail. Then you see the other aspect of it. Are they actually going to give up charging people for energy, even though it's such a profitable endeavor on this other aspect? Well, I mean, I don't know. It'd be awesome if it did become that way.
Yeah, I mean, these are pinch points of the next phase of human technological advancement. We're seeing pinch points in power production, which really I see no other way other than rolling back into nuclear. And yes, they keep, trying to do major advancements, but what we know works is nuclear. It's more than likely going to be small or modular nuclear setups that are, in my opinion, are coming. AI, but then also, Kelly, you had a great post in your rundown talking about the difficulty to actually produce these systems. We all use ChatGPT or some form of large language model, I'd assume, here in crypto. And there is a very stronghold, concise control of the actual production process of those chips.
The difficulty, proof of work.
Right, absolutely. And so this is what is also playing into why we're seeing such a massive argument and basically a seizing, an engine seizing up. The macroeconomic world economy is seizing up because we're seeing a conflict of interest because China needs the resources. It's got a much larger, population, economy. Questionable, you can consider the commercial real estate falling apart in China as their deathbed, but also they've got great advancements in the manufacturing and technology sector. So it's a multifaceted hydra, but I know that when you boil all of this down, the country that has the raw materials, the ability to refine those and make computer chips and computer systems is going to win the world power race.
I mean, this is one of the reasons why Taiwan is such in high contention between China getting back in control of because of what it could mean to restricting the ability to deploy this technology more equitably across the planet, right? And so, I mean, do you want to show the clip of the guy talking about how difficult it is to build this compute? It's about 2 minutes.
You know what? We'll leave it up to the chat. One in the chat for yes, two in the chat
It's
for no.
pretty
If you
phenomenal.
want to check it out, because this is like we're peeling away the layers of the onion of the current situation right now, why markets are moving right now, in a negative way. So let us know if you actually want to kind of get a little bit more concise view about the difficulty in producing what these language models are. I think it's worth it, Kelly. Bring it on up. They want to check it out here, so definitely bring it on up. Pull me down and get you up here.
So here we go. Well, it's about 2 minutes, but it blows your mind when you think about the exponential orders of magnitude levels of specificity and meticulous engineering in this. So just check this out. I thought this was fascinating. I hope you guys can hear it.
Why can't the US or China make the machines that make chips? Like the two countries fighting over AI, both can't make the machines that make AI chips. And I'll keep it non-technical, but it's literally because it is insanely hard for 4 reasons. Let's get into it. First, you need a very specific type of light that's higher energy than all the light we see because it's good at printing on silicon. But this light is a diva and causes a ton of problems. Just to make it, you have to snipe molten droplets of tin with a laser, hitting them dead center to make the light. And the droplets are smaller than the width of a human hair. And you have to do this 50 to 100,000 times per second with no room for error. And this is the easiest part. Now that you have the light, you have to put it on the right spot on the chip to draw all the patterns. Normally, you could use a lens. If you've ever burnt paper with a magnifying glass, that's exactly what you're doing with the light from the sun. But this light is a diva, and no material exists that can act as a lens for it. Since you can't use a magnifying glass, you have to use a bunch of mirrors. But these mirrors have to be smoother than the width of an atom. If the mirror was the size of the entire planet, the tallest mountain would be the height of a credit card in thickness. And there's only one company in the world that can make these mirrors. But since you lose a little bit of light from the mirror,
back up to that company.
you lost over 99% of it. So
What'd you say?
That Zeiss company. Pull it back to that where that Zeiss company name just popped up here. Because Carl Zeiss Meditech ADR. So we're seeing pinch points of production that this company, I believe, is in Germany, right? Kelly, is where their manufacturing locations?
Jana, Germany. And I think most of the predominant chip making is in Taiwan.
Yeah. You know what? This comment wins the internet. Okay. Somebody needs to get this dude laid. So this being a pinch point, but also it's a company out of it's a Dutch company that actually has originally put the machinery into, and let's, instead of the full word of the country, since we'll get deboosted on YouTube for saying it because there's obviously intentions of this world to keep it hush as not being its own country, but the T word, and not the weird T word that we just got over. Never let that one back into society. But I'm talking about the country next to China that makes a lot of these chips. So essentially, there's a Dutch company that put the machinery in. They have a kill switch. So if NATO sees massive contention pop off, they have literally a kill switch within the machinery inside of TSMC, right? So this is a multifaceted tug of war going on, and it's hurting our bags. It's hurting our bags. The other thing I just got to highlight that's been hurting our bags that hopefully is going to be over with soon is this government shutdown. 36% chance as things sit right now on Polymarket that it's going to last over 30 days, though. Does that wash away our chances for Pumptober? Come on, man. Move. What a comment right there. I mean, that's a winner. That's a novel thought. We just dragged the whole island over here. Kelly, historically, we have a good October. We're supposed to be in the 4-year generalized cycle. This was an expected upside, right, over the next few months. Do you think the government shutdown is going to maybe cause a little bit of a hesitation? Because when it originally kicked off the shutdown, we started pumping, and now some of the the realization that it's ongoing, that people are going on without there people are going on without their paychecks right now, and things are hard. Is it's still in the room with us right now? Like even with this government shutdown, what is your vibe on it right now?
Well, there's a couple things depending on how long this looms. If this looms like, let's say, another 4 weeks, I think you start getting carryover effects of a lot of discontent because there's not a small number of federal workers out there. It's a pretty large number, and as those furloughs start coming in, whether it's police, whether it's IRS, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's a lot state parks. There's a lot of different federal workers that get paid, military, a lot that once they start not getting paid, but in some, there's pressures. You still kind of need to do your job. Some aren't getting furloughed, but still need to work. Some have to decide, do I want to be the person that didn't come in and work, even though I'm not getting paid, but I'm going to get paid later? I think you start getting a lot of political pressures that come in, but also what that means to, sort of consumer spending in the market. I will say this is probably, for anybody out there, throw a 1 in chat if you agree. This is the most frustrating crypto cycle that I've been a part of. And I've been a part of all of them since 2015, 2016, because now it's not just this pipe dream. Now it's the most bullish setup we've ever seen. And yet the market's like, nope. Every time you get some greenish, it's like, hey, yeah, you went long. Let's go ahead and send it down to Goblin Town, baby. But we are on major footing and a foundation that suggests overwhelming increase in adoption.
Yep.
What you got here? Oh,
absolutely.
God. Is this a chart of that?
It is a chart of that, and your head's right where mine is right now. It's like we know Bitcoin adoption is reaching a great level. Bitcoin adoption reached 4.7% globally. This is great for us because this is still extremely low in terms of the overall adoption for Bitcoin. Been aggravating, and it's kind of sometimes shocking to look over my shoulder. We're crashing on this chart right now, but it's over $100,000, right? So
yeah, we're crashing to 118.
Right.
What are we worried about?
Yeah, I mean, this graph really sets the tone for me over the next 2 decades on where I can put my money and have good buying power secured. And actually, I do feel that we're going to have some form of Bitcoin to be able to get loans at a point. When the US economy hits a certain level of shit show, I think hyper Bitcoinization, the conversation of that, it sounds hyperbolic, but there may be very well a time where instead of the Hunger Games, you have the Bitcoin games, right? Where the people that don't have the Bitcoin are just the absolute have-nots. There is no middle class, and there's only people with Bitcoin and people without Bitcoin, right? That is potential.
On that note, Jack Dorsey, a lot of people are giving pushback on this, where he's talking about, with some of the recent rollouts, with what he's doing, trying to get Bitcoin to the place where it's used for transactions as early as possible. And all of us, in the Western world and people that have any amount of Bitcoin or any amount of cash flow, we're like, Bitcoin's a store of wealth. Well, if you think about it, if it's only a store of wealth, it's going to become hyper concentrated into BlackRock, into Fidelity, into Strategy, into these major players that is kind of defeats some of the purpose of why Bitcoin came out, but also some of the beauty that it can instill more broadly. So if we do have more people, yes, storing it, but also a lot of people spending and using it as some form of more regular transactable currency, then you maintain a huge amount of diversification of holders.
Yeah. And the chart that I should have longed here, Kelly, I'm lamenting this morning. I should have just longed beef. Right? Just long beef. Just stay long cattle. Long the things that Bill Gates says he's going to take away from you, because I have a belief that he is going to fail. It's I'm hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic Gates is going to fail. Now, JP Morgan, we're going to talk about some warnings here. JP Morgan predicting the Solana ETF could see modest inflows, around 1.5 billion they're expecting in the first year. 1/7 of Ethereum ETF flows, citing a weaker investor demand and potential investor fatigue. They're saying crypto fatigue. Crypto fatigue is real, everybody. Apparently. And on the fear and greed index, on the excitement registrar, on the searches, it does, as content creators, we kind of get a keen insight on this as well from viewership engagement and also kind of how much people are searching out crypto information. But we're at a 54 for fear and greed. Bitcoin's at 120K. Flatline. What kind of data are you looking at in this thought process?
I mean, fear and greed, I will say, and I talk about this a lot, even when we got this dip right here, that dropped, it did on one day drop to like 27 or something. But not, I mean, people, this was nice that this was only down to 52 before we got the move. But remember, this was a run up. The context here was excitement about ETF approval, got approval, and then people lost their minds with the little dip here for 12 days that then dipped, oh my God, from 50,000, oh my God, it's over, $11,000 drop, and then moonshot up to 74 and then died to 48. Oh wait, tested the previous range high, and then moonshot from 70, from what was that, 48 all the way up to 109. And then again, fear and greed down to 24. See where that is? Down to 29. See where these are? Down to 25. And we finally got one there, and we got a little bit of a move up. But even where we're sitting, we're very neutral right now. Again, it would not shock me to get a move that does scare the market, not just what we're seeing on crypto Twitter, but see this, whether it moves down to 109 or below, but to where we ultimately stop seeing everybody leverage long, right? We're getting some choppiness in the 24, but the funding rate still shows that the market is still expecting higher. So the market says, I'm going to break your spirit and then I'm going to move. So I think the market, unfortunately, still needs its spirit broken. And the problem is, and I think you have a post on this that we want to highlight. Every time Bitcoin runs up, altcoins start to move, but not as much as Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin drops and alts fall further. And then Bitcoin moves up and alts move up some. And then Bitcoin's drop and they fall further. And it's like, are we going to get the alt season we were promised?
Right.
Well, it wasn't promised, but I still think it's coming.
Well, it was historically betted on, right? It's the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. We have historical movement that should be getting bullish in this time frame that we're in. So let's go here. Let's start this Bitcoin dominance, right? General idea on this still remains the same because we really haven't seen any sort of major break back up from Bitcoin dominance. It's had a few good weeks, but I still see this as a spicy spot. I think generally, they're asking in the chat Q1 of 2026 or Q4 of 2025. I'm thinking Q1 of 2026. I think that the mechanics of the general 4-year ebb and flow of up and downs for Bitcoin remains largely intact. I just think it's a little bit extended. And this is part of the data points that made me think that is because this is a longer, more consistent and concise run up on Bitcoin dominance than we had seen in markets past. Bitcoin dominance holding on harder and longer because of the treasuries, the state reserves, some nation reserves conversation, but no US Bitcoin reserves have come in. But Bitcoin dominance as it sits right now is putting a little bit of a shellacking on the altcoins. It's undeniable. Ethereum pulled back very, very heavily this morning. We nearly punched down to $3,000, 3,900 on Ethereum. It's a very quick snap crash. And, is this done? We're going to have Chinese markets opening tonight. There's probably going to be quite a bit of concern, but this really, so far today, within the last hour, 2 hours, we fell by 7% nearly. It's a pretty good washout on Ethereum in a short amount of time. Is the bottom in? I can't say that.
Remember this. I mean, I did this jokingly earlier, but I do think this renders a little bit of fear here. This is the others.d. So others dominance. What's its level of dominance in the market? And this structure looks super weak. This structure is super weak here. And if this were to come down and test into this range at all, this is a 33% drop in dominance, this does not mean 33% drops in your altcoins. This would probably result in either Bitcoin running away and altcoins being left behind, or a combination of that, of Bitcoin dropping and altcoins just absolutely getting decimated. But when we look at the others chart, just others itself, not the dominance. Let's pull that up. There we go. Again, we still have a very similar structure that we've been talking about to the previous cycle back in 2019 into 2020. But we did have this big washout, which was the black swan, the global world shutting down the economy. We have not gotten a move like that at all yet, but could this rare earth minerals, could this another trade war represent basically the same thing happening? Maybe, but I do think at some point, because the world is moving on chain, the world is moving into integrating with blockchain in innumerable ways. I do think we are going to see this move up. The question is, how long will this chop people out emotionally before that happens? I saw a comment here. Somebody said, I'm waiting for the market for most people to give up. And then it will likely move to the upside. And unfortunately, that's probably going to be the case.
Yeah. Loving the comment too. And I love hearing what you guys are thinking out there. It's like, we're getting really, I saw this article about Polygon and it just gave me bear market vibes, man. Swiss regulated Amina Bank becomes the first regulated firm to offer institutional Polygon staking with the Polygon Foundation. Oh my gosh. You know, I bet you many people
you
are
saw what
lining up.
Zcash did. You saw what Zcash did. Zcash came back from the dead. It was like Easter for Zcash. Maybe Paul does that as well. I mean, Poly Market, which is loosely tied in also with Paul Ecosystem, just got a $2 billion purchase or investment, I should say, from Intercontinental Exchange or whatever it is, New York Stock Exchange. So maybe there's juice there.
You know, I just don't see a bunch of people coming in and staking a bunch of Paul tokens that are Swiss banks, customers.
Well, let's ask the audience. Let's ask the audience. Everybody that's tuned in right now, we're across 5 or 6 different channels right now, from X and YouTube and different channels amongst those as well. How many of you, I want you to see it in the live chat right now. How many of you have ever held Paul or Matic? How many of you still hold it? How many of you don't trust it at all? You're never going to own it. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Drop it in the chat.
Dude, the Polygon was one of my best plays last cycle too. It's like a few cents I bought it, dumped it for like over $2. Kelly, I think it's actually time to start hopping into charts. I mean, I got a few other things I got to cover before we get into the charts too deep. Wintermute continues the beatings, right? CZ creating them dips for us. Buy the dip, right? He says right before he does it. Also, prayers to the people out there in the Philippines. And also, did you see a bunch of folks from Mario that worked with Mario are in the Philippines experiencing these earthquakes? They're saying multiple earthquakes. There's at least one 7.4 being reported out there. A little bit of craziness. Also, this is nuts. This is disruptive for the medical field, Kelly, and also related to China. They're inventing something called bone glue, which repairs bone. What's that?
I could have used that when I broke 22 bones in the motorcycle accident.
Right? I mean, think about this. It repairs bone fractures in 3 minutes. No surgery or metal plates needed. It holds up to 400 pounds in pressure. That's very, very disruptive for the orthopedics industry. My wife was talking about it pretty in depth yesterday. But let's go to the charts, Kelly. I want to go through kind of the main charts that you have in mind, but I do want to get some people in the chat telling me what charts you need to look at first and foremost. And I want to go to Hernanov. He had a super chat here, brought up a couple questions. Where is your super chat? Shout out for everyone for keeping the chats full. You think Link and Tau are long-term holds? So Link is my favorite altcoin and the only altcoin that I'm willing to long-term hold. Tau is probably the king of AI. Tau is probably the king of AI. I can say that. So, AI in blockchain, it's not like NVIDIA king of AI, but in terms of crypto, I think Tau is one of the bigger projects, the better projects to hold. Probably has a lot more staying power than a lot of these AI projects. So I will say that.
Tau has ecosystems, kind of subnet style ecosystems that they themselves, if they were independent of the Tau blockchain itself, would be, each valued at hundreds of millions into the billions of dollars. And it's not yet really realized by market participants in the way Tau is being priced. I think as people wake up to understanding the flywheel effect that the BitTensor ecosystem has, and also some of the major players, even people like David Sachs and Chamath Palihapitiya, speaking so, and Jason, whatever his name is, Calacanis, amongst other people as well, speaking so positively about Tau and what can happen there. I do think it's going to perform well, but it had a pump, but a lot of things got a little bit of dead cat bounce pumps lately. And what we're seeing, look at that, zoom out. It's things are looking a bit weak right now if you're expecting an immediate run, because October is the month. Well, is October in the room with you right now? It's not in the room with me.
Yeah, but in terms of like, it's like I know what I've seen the U.S. government do over the last few months, few years has really solidified crypto's here to stay, and finding things that I feel comfortable feeling like it's going to be around in 2030, finding what is $20 that will be $1,000, $2,000, whatever, just like we've seen Solana go from a few bucks to $300, Ethereum from 180 to 4,500. Chainlink, I think, is in line to receive that next big movement. Tau, it's got staying power. And I don't know. I mean, I just showed you the data on how fast AI and data centers are growing. And blockchain is a perfect mixture for what AI does, because it categorizes everything. AI can operate on a blockchain, categorizing everything and keeping everything on chain all in one spot. It's a match made in heaven from a technological standpoint. It's just a matter of when those two worlds kind of clash. But let's get into your charts, Kelly. We just checked out Tau, covered the super chat, and shout out to you. Appreciate you turning off. But what do you want to look at first here, Mr. Kelly? What's on your mind first as we're seeing this crazy market movement here?
Yeah, let's talk about Ethereum first. We'll get back to Bitcoin. We'll wrap out the stream with Bitcoin because we started with that one. But Ethereum, I mean, looking at this, if you don't know anything in the context of the news, what's happening in the cycle, this actually looks pretty darn good. What we've seen here, and I want you to notice this specifically, a nice bullish impulsive move up, chop right here. It's going to go higher. It's going to go higher. Wash out, really wreck people on that same, on the same candle. Bulls just, the bears ate your lunch and the bulls said nope, and then it moved. So this is very similar here with the price action moving to the upside here. Are we going to get a move down? This is a very important trend line that we're seeing here. This trend line that we're looking at, if you zoom out, is a trend line that goes back to 2021. So this is a very important level that we want to watch. Does it mean it has to hold? Well, no. But what I would see here, if we get another move, potentially down to this level and a washout down, really trap people, that's kind of what I see likely happening if we have the continuation of this bearish momentum that we're seeing in the charts right now. What I really like about this chart, though, if you zoom out on this, this kind of feels like almost like a Wyckoff accumulation, where you have the move down, bigger move down. Okay, we move up higher. Oh, my God, we went higher. But then big washout down, spring back up. And this would be a normal price action on a major setup before the price action moves higher. So it wouldn't be out of context for this to come down, test this, lose it, and then trap people and move to the upside. But the follow-up with that would be, what does it look like on the ETH to Bitcoin pair? So let's look at that. Still looks relatively good. If we zoom out on this, nice V-shaped correction that we've had here. But if we zoom out and look at this on this other chart, I just want you to notice something. This has been in a downtrend, even with this massive move up, which has been so exciting. This has still maintained the downtrend that we started back here in September 2022. In this case, first lower high and then just lower highs all the way through. Even with this recovery, you should say, up into the zone, we've not been able to get out of this. And this also corresponds with this box of liquidity here that goes back to this previous range low. So what we'd really like to see for ETH is not only on that previous chart, the US dollar chart, for it to have some sort of washout and then move higher, but this ETH to Bitcoin pair, we'd really like to see this, and this is critical for all our alts, this break out of this and start making headways towards the upside. But then on the flip side, now we have BNB that's just broken all narrative. It's not waiting on ETH. So are we seeing a little bit different? This is a question I'm sure you're asking, Drew, and a lot of people out there are wondering, does ETH need to be the one that moves to light the alts on fire? Well, ask yourself this. BNB just melted faces to the upside. Has the majority of your altcoins melted their way to the upside? No. Well, then maybe ETH is still in charge. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now at the basic level, but we'll see what people want to look at, and we'll do some audience requests. Let's see what you guys want to see charted, and we'll get some charts out the next 15 minutes.
What is ADAX? What in the world are you talking? Hold on.
Alert. I'll say it. Alert. This guy is an ADAX scammer. Oh, you mean somebody put me on their website that I had no even awareness of? Yeah. So
they put you on a website?
Yeah, they said I was like an advisor on the thing. It's like I had mentioned it once that it might do something because it was like
you're moving up in the world. Look at that. You're like an advisor.
Yeah.
Now
I was no way affiliated.
I want to look at, so here, I'll pull up my screen here. So what we're seeing is Zcash Potenza. They're doing good. They're doing pretty good. We have this XPL, just the brand new project, really nosediving. World Liberty Fi taking a nosedive. A lot of people are mad about this. Let's sift through all this garbage here and see if there's any deals here. See if there's any good projects that kind of stick out that I'm wanting to buy. I've been sitting here aggravated about this 00 thing. Both of these are brand new. All right. So I'm in this situation. I'm not too bearish on XPL for what it is. It's leaning into the stablecoin super cycle. World Liberty Financial also leaning into that same setup. And I think those are more reasonable use cases. Really, like from what I see, I just feel like buying more Chainlink or Bitcoin, right? Like I have a very
Avalanche has really been ticking up in my sort of, I don't want to say trustability because I've always liked Avalanche, but I feel like they're getting they're like army crawling their way up into that super, close to being a super blue chip token because of the types of integrations that are getting deployed with Avalanche and the sort of straddling of multiple different ecosystems. And, they're also, listing kind of like Ondo is doing major securities and tokenized RWAs, but Avalanche is starting to get some of that nod as well, just like Injective. But I really like Avalanche where it's at right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad looking graph overall. Consistent macro higher lows. So it's an interesting spot that it's in at $26. I actually feel more comfortable getting more Avalanche if it's getting near $20. I am very selective on when I get in. God, there's a lot of people bringing up Polkadot too. A lot of people bringing up Polkadot as
Josh, when Josh was over in Bali, he was talking about how it was kind of surprising because we forget the bubbles that we're in. And I saw this also when I was in Singapore last year for Token 2049. There's chains that are completely off your radar, but actually have major sort of cultural integration in different areas. And Polkadot's one of those that on the eastern part of the world, there's a lot more integrations than we're seeing here. So we're like, oh, it's dead. And then you're like, it's kind of like Tron. I don't ever use Tron. And then you look at the volume that they're doing and how much it's being integrated in Asian countries. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm not living in the only bubble that exists out here.
Right. And this, the next few months are going to be kind of what I was emphasizing this morning. This next few months is going to be extremely important to watch for good pumps to take good profits on, right? For me, at least, that's what I'm going to be doing. So when I'm looking at this current situation, the pullback just doesn't really concern me too much on the macro, on, general market mechanics. Bitcoin, here's the warning. All right. So I'm going to admit it. I have a profit taking oracle. I have a voice on my shoulder, an actual person, that every single time she mentions that we need to make a major upgrade, be it a new car, house, she knows when to strike, and she literally hasn't missed. I'm telling you, this wife, this wonderful woman in my life, has pushed me to sell at literally Pico tops all the time. She came out yesterday and said to me, honey, maybe a 2x is all we get out of Bitcoin. We got to watch for the next flow of upkick in altcoins, let the money flow downhill, flow it downhill, catch it on the altcoins, make the move out, and just grab Bitcoin. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just talking about my experience of my life. She's been there the whole time with me through crypto, and it scared the living hell out of me, Kelly. I'm not gonna lie, it scared the living hell out of me hearing
Bit of an oracle.
hearing her say it. But she does feel the same that I do about the long-term outlook of Chainlink, Bitcoin. It's going to be there, but systemic importance is going to matter going into 2030. A lot of what we see and these numbers we're complaining about on whatever alt layer one right now are going to look like a dream after the bear market comes back and takes hold of altcoins, in my humble opinion. Okay. So I will say that I made a point to make a mention of it, Kelly, just in case. Okay. And Kenny, I'm not trying to scare you. Just giving you what's going on right now. So that being said, it does line up at the last part of this year, Kelly, where we're slated to have 2 interest rate cuts. We're going to have more spending bills come about, and we're going to have potentially a last gasp push for high risk assets in altcoins, money flowing downhill from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is tumbling. We are at $117,000 right now. So we actually got to go check out that because we are rumbling here.
117.
Not great. Look at this. Not great. Actually. Oh. Okay. We remember this. We remember, and me and Kelly this is where we had concise agreement about general movement here. Not these that we drew out. I mean, potentially. God, these are if my wife's right. These flow down. Alts get that last joy step. That's scary.
Dude.
All right. That's scary. No, but coming up and above this, and then coming back into the interest zone here. Kelly, you had a post about this, talking about kind of the center point of this recent W pattern, which I found really interesting, overlapping with what kind of general flows I've been following on Bitcoin. We're falling down into this spot right now, which I find absolutely fascinating. Now, right at the top here, Kelly, can you fib this out for me? Can you fib this out? Because this is actually where I would expect structurally to see a bounce right now live on the air. So what do you think about this? Let's look at your charts here.
Well, it's literally right in the middle of that zone. I remember I drew this a day or two ago. And we're seeing this kind of take that shape. And I had this potentially wiggling a bit lower. And while this is a top here, golden pockets down here at this next top, which would, oh my God, it didn't bounce there. Now you get aggressive selling here. What does it look like on the liquidation heat map though? Let's actually look at that.
Yes.
Coin,
bring it up.
Coin Glass, where's my liquidation heat map? I hate the new, I
got it real quick. Well, you get it. I'll get it. Here you go. All right. There we go. Fresh. Bam. So sitting pretty washed clean on shorts or on longs rather.
Yeah, I don't look at a bigger time frame though. Look at like on mine on the weekly.
Pull it up.
So came up, a lot of people shorting, came down, some people longing, flushed them out, flushed it out, flushed out the longs. Or sorry, the longs here came up, flushed out the shorts, and now wiggling down just a bit more. But when you look at that on the charts, I mean, this is the zone. We're going to want to watch what it looks like. We're in the liquidation heat map. And remember, as I shared at the beginning of the stream, $11 billion in open interest has been wiped out in crypto in the last week. $11 billion. That's how over leveraged people are in just providing this chop possibility for a market maker. So it wouldn't surprise me. And I said this before, if we lose this and come down and getting a bigger washout down into the 114s, potentially even down, really testing people's spirit down in the zone. But ultimately, when you zoom out on this, this is still I mean, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows so far. You know, if we even were to wash out down into the, remember, we still have that CME gap at 92,000. So still wouldn't shock me to do that. I start getting worried when we start dropping into low, like below the low 90s. If we show a lot of momentum coming through, no strength coming in, once we lose 90, then you start saying, okay, maybe it was over. But the way I'm looking at that is you don't just wait for it to come all the way down there. These markets, if you zoom back in previous cycles, you'll notice that even on the sell-off, for instance, back in 2017, there was a massive sell-off. Oh my God, it's so scary. But then what happened on that move, option F, top to bottom, price still came up into that golden pocket region, gave you that opportunity to get out. So I don't think this is the end of the cycle, but the overwhelming bullish landscape could render the exuberant hype that everybody's still expecting it to go higher to have a larger washout. But you know, we're sitting here right now. Let's not forget where we're at on the 4-hour chart. We're sitting right now at a, what is this? Let's measure that. We're sitting at a 6% drop, and people are losing their minds right now. We saw 11 moves in 2017 of 15% or more. 8 of those moves were over 30% to the downside. And so we're sitting here at 6% and people are losing their minds.
Yeah.
So
I got to find Ricky Romero's super chat here as well. Ricky, if you can just type back in what you were saying here. Chat's
you just click,
I got all
go
the
on the top,
rooms.
go on the top where it says starred, and it has them organized.
Here we go. Thoughts on XPL. Goodbye right now. Let's go check out XPL graph, Kelly. I believe it's the stable coin focused protocol. It's like has backing from Tether. You know, so it came out very, very recently. What we're watching right now is a free fall from release. It's a brand new project that I think it's got interesting backing, but you do got to wonder where these inside wallets that got in early on this thing are going to finally stop selling, basically, because it's in free fall right now. What are you seeing here?
First things I want to do are, some people might see this and go, why didn't you draw this like this? Well, because I like to draw my lines where you're getting as many touch points as possible. And you can account that there's going to be some deviations as that happens. So we're kind of on that support line right now. I mean, one of the only support lines that kind of exists in the market. I mean, you could do that. Yeah, I'd do that. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be a buyer here, even though it's on a support line, unless you're willing to hold and endure if this drops, or have a tight stop loss a little bit under this. But I think we're going to be in a little bit of a choppy season with that tweet that came out from Trump today. Obviously sparked markets. We saw earlier at the beginning of the stream, the S&P 500 alone dropped $700 billion in the matter of an hour or two after that. I mean, it was even quicker than that. It was a matter of minutes, I believe. So where we're at here, I mean, I'd watch for a bounce. And on this bounce, if this cannot take out this area, this previous range low, then this is a false bounce. It's going to probably likely make a pretty big spill to the downside. Major money flow negative. RSI is very oversold. We're kind of double bottom there though. So I think it just needs a little bit more data. If you're willing to hold and you believe this market is not in a 4-year cycle doom station right now, then this could be a good buy. But it's going to depend on what your ability is to your risk tolerance on that.
Absolutely. And then we got another one, Crypto Cody. Thoughts on XSeller. Now, this is a project I know nothing about, so we're just going to raw dog this.
Is it XCL? Yeah. Well, there's a lot of data there. So much data.
This is giving clear signals, Cody.
It's a bull flag. It's going to 6 million. No, I mean, On a market right now where risk is going risk off, I'd be very hesitant to be like, oh, but there was just an airdrop. I'd be like, okay, I would want this to, even if this started pumping again, and I'm not saying you should do this, I would want to see what this does in the next week or two, because more often than not, you get this super excitement. People feel like they missed the boat. Oh, it's a good buy opportunity, bump, boom, and it drops further, builds a base, and then makes some moves. So again, I don't know. I know nothing about this project. But because we're in a bit of a risk off scenario right now in the immediate next 3, 4, 5 days, I'd be a little bit hesitant on this as it stands.
Yeah, when things like that come out, I like to just see it comes out and you see it's like almost always you see that initial dump, and then you're looking for a swooping pattern, right? You're looking for a swooping pattern, you're looking for higher lows to be developed to get in on. Athena, please, it's hot right now. Get them all in. A lot of people are asking about Athena. What up, Clips Craze Express? Let's see.
Yeah, by the way,
chart.
Aerodrome, by the way, which I drew the other day. I talked about if this loses, this is likely going to lose. Why? Because you have a rising channel. Rising channels tend to have a breakout or fake out to the downside. In this case, it's basically starting the process that we already had drawn on here. So I'd be a little cautious here. I don't know if the entire market is going to drop further or not. But I mean, RSI is very weak. Money flow is suggesting, non-bullishness here. If we look at this on the daily, RSI is rejected. Look at this, rejected at the 50 line, suggesting that the weakness is in control. If we come over here to Athena, where's Athena? That's IGN. Where's ENA? ENA. Boom. Here we go. ENA. Oh, look at that. We talked about this coming up and rejecting. Boom. It rejected. That's on the daily though. 4 hour. I mean, bullish narrative, sure, but bearish shape on this 4 hour. This was suggesting it was going to tank. Large bullish impulse, larger bullish impulse, smaller bullish impulse. You're getting the roundingness, double top, and then the breakdown, lower low followed by lower high. I mean, all the signals were there that this was, showing weakness. RSI is starting to show some bullish divergences though on the 4 hour. So I will give it that. We got the low there, higher lows there, money flow, low there, higher low there. So maybe this is going to try and find a base here, but the price action just looks weak as F. I'd wait for this to, even if you feel like you're going to lose it. If this pumps up, you get something like this where you start to form a structure, because everything here is looking very, very bearish in the near term.
This is something we can do on the next show. Can you look at Bitcoin dominance versus the SPY and the QQQ and IWM? We can,
well, here's the deal. I got a chart there with the IWM. And this does give me hope on the market, guys. As bearish as things feel right now in the midterm to macro, remember, we're looking at short-term price action charts. The macro and midterm to me look overwhelmingly bullish. And this is one of those chart reasons why. I mean, you notice where we're at when this is bottomed. Look at where that is in the cycle. When this is bottomed, look at where that is at in the cycle. This is bottomed again, or it's basically at a low. And this is that business cycle, the liquidity cycle, the things that really drive markets. If we do get this reversal, this impulse up, especially with the money printing that's likely coming because of the stress on economies globally right now, especially with some of the bills we're seeing pass, if this is still the case, then we'd have a lot more price action in this cycle to the upside, and also the parabolic phase that has not really yet materialized in this cycle.
Yeah. And these lower prices, the idea of lower Bitcoin excites me. I'm not going to lie. Like, max pain for me is up only. So, if we can get a nice washout on this market, and I can be looking at a half price Bitcoin discount a year from now, or if it takes 2 years to get there, that's going to be great. Right. So that's kind of why I'm looking at these potential, because what we have right now is a situation that Bitcoin has never experienced. Bitcoin has never been through stagflation. We are in stagflation right now. And how Bitcoin reacts in tandem to how gold is already reacting, going to parabolic meme coin highs on gold. Can Bitcoin follow suit? I'm betting that Bitcoin can follow suit to a good degree on what's happening to gold. and other assets that hedge against a failing US dollar and a failing world trust of fiat currencies. So I do think that they're actually going to rise in tandem. I'm kind of excited for lowered prices. I'm not going to lie. If I get them, I'm going to be a very, very happy camper. It is what it is. You know, I actively take profits, make money. I got a lot of kids to take care of. So, you know, I'm fighting for their future here on the blockchain. And obviously,
Well,
like, this is the real lesson here. It's like long-term hold of Bitcoin wins. Me and Kelly are going over this charts and the market where it sits right now, trying to time it out. But time in the market will beat every single little signal that we just showed you. Time in the market, patience, being willing to sit on your hands and only look at things that are systemically important to become a major part of my portfolio, are how I've gotten to the point that I'm at. Even right now in this shitty market condition, I feel insanely good. I'm up 6x on the newer bags. The kids are taken care of. Things are set up, and you have to think in terms of fighting for more satoshis, thinking in terms coming to work, how much of a percentage of a Bitcoin can I get this, right? Shifting our mindset into that, protecting our buying power. Housing costs are collapsing in terms of Bitcoin. So the cheaper we can get the Bitcoin for, maybe just ride a FUD campaign until we can get, half off Bitcoin housing. Yeah, go over this because this is really important metric right now. This is really
well. I mean, we're so zoomed in on a 6% pullback, and we forget that what we've seen over the last the duration of Bitcoin's life, everything's gotten cheaper the longer you hold Bitcoin. If you hold Bitcoin and price them in Bitcoin, things become cheaper. And it's not just real estate prices, but I should invest in real estate because it's a better store of value. Well, I'm not going to discard. I think everybody at some point likely should own a home because I think that's going to be phased out in the near future for people that don't already have a home, especially with pricing. But Bitcoin, the strength here is incredible. And then you look at S&P 500 and gold priced in Bitcoin has collapsed, but gold's over 4,000. But this chart still remains priced in Bitcoin. You're getting more gold for Bitcoin than you have historically. And then you look at where we're at right now, 6% dip. Let's take a trip down memory lane to wrap this stream out, guys. We're in a 6% dip right now. This is 2015, 41% dip, 27% dip, 14% dip, 30. Wait, how is this going higher with these massive dips? 39% dip. Oh my God, 34% dip. It's over. 32%. This must be over. Twice in a row. Look at that. And then 39% dip. And then 14. And just to take note, look, this is in the middle of a parabola. 40%, 30%. And then we come over to where we're at right now. And what is this? A dip for ants? This is guys, we need to take advantage of these opportunities when they come in because the framework for this industry is stronger than it's ever been. We have mainstream media touting the prowess and positivity around Bitcoin and the possibilities. 401ks just getting approval, $9 to $14 trillion industry, capital flows coming in from corporate treasuries, sovereign bodies haven't even started stacking yet. And we're worried about a 17% dip on a day where Bitcoin is $117,777. I just saw that. I was like, is that the lucky number? Let's see. But even if this dips a bit lower, 109,000, I'm still buying. Down in this region, I'm still buying. And if we have to be patient, then we got to be patient because I couldn't be more bullish about what's to come.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, you know what? I'm going to be enjoying the weekend with the kids. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Take care of your families. Kelly, thanks for joining me on the show today. That's a great post. Shut up, calm down, and wait. Right.
And what I wrote was, here's the crypto signal that proves the market is about to explode higher. Everybody's searching for hopium. Everybody's searching for hopium on the charts right now. And in reality, you just need to shut up, calm down, and wait. Get outside, go touch some grass, play your guitar, play your banjo if you got it, play a fiddle, play a harmonica, swim, pet a puppy, hug a friend. I don't care what it is. Sometimes maybe this is that moment that you can just get out of the charts for a second. But yeah, I'm excited. And it is October 10th. I cannot believe it's October 10th, 2025. We're living in
I'm flying, man.
Drew.
And this next few months is going to be crazy with the holidays, distractions from the holidays, at least for me. Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving. It's going to be absolutely nuts.
So everybody tuned in right now. We got 4,741. So I want to see 4,741 comments right now or posted below the video after it posts if you're watching later. It is Friday. We got Sunday coming up. Will price be higher for Bitcoin and ETH Sunday than it is today? Or do you think the market's going to continue crashing, right? Bull or bear or pump or dump? I want to see everybody. Let's see where the heads are at there. And then we can revisit this on Monday when we get back in.
Absolutely. Love and appreciate you guys. Take care of the fam, and we'll see you very soon.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.